Zach, let's take it a step further, right? Because then we're really going to dissect this here. Where do the Ravens now rank? Because there's three contenders in the AFC that people right now are considering the favorites: Kansas City, Buffalo, and Baltimore. And Colin Cowherd today on his show talked about these moves and then talked about how he ranks these teams after the Ravens just acquired Diontae Johnson. So let's play that clip and react on the other side.
The Carolina Panthers are sending Diontae Johnson to the Baltimore Ravens. So Kansas City goes out, gets an edge rusher, and D-Hop. Baltimore says, okay, we'll play that game. We'll go get a better receiver, Diontae Johnson. So the Carolina Panthers, the New England Patriots, they're moving off players at the trade deadline. Kansas City's adding them. Baltimore is adding them.
Buffalo, KC, Baltimore. That is a really awesome race in the AFC.
Okay, so one got D-Hop, one got Diontae Johnson, and one got Amari Cooper.
Rank the teams for me right now, those three. They're clearly
Kansas City won. Buffalo, Baltimore's a coin flip. Baltimore's defense on the back end worries me.
So the Ravens had a great group of receivers last year, remember, with Odell Beckham and company. Yeah. They have now upgraded their skill position players with Derrick Henry. They got the young kid.
Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers. Bateman actually showing okay despite the drop off the face mask this weekend. And now you're adding Diontae Johnson, who was a 1 or 2 in Pittsburgh last year.
You already got a Mark Andrews at tight end.
Mark Andrews likely the backup.
Yep.
They got the kid Mitchell, the young running back who's been on the PUP list all year. I got him stashed in fantasy.
Listen, they're saying we can't solve our defense. We'll make our offense better in
Baltimore. The Ravens
Baltimore.
have the best skill position players in the AFC. Who's got better?
No, you're right.
The depth-wise.
No, quarterback, running back, tight end, receivers, Baltimore's number one, arguably in the league.
And Buffalo's second in the AFC to Baltimore.
So I would agree on that. I think Baltimore's offense, I don't think that's a debate. Top to bottom in the AFC, it's Baltimore. Mm-hmm. You have the MVP frontrunner. You have the best running back in the NFL. And now you have 3 wide receivers that can make plays, and still the deepest tight end group led by Mark Andrews, who week by week continues to get better. And Zach, you brought it up yesterday when we talked to Nick Moore on the Ravens. You know, I think it's now Mark has 50 yards or a touchdown in the last 4 weeks. So he's getting hot. So let's dissect this a little bit closer. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any debate, though, that Kansas City is number one for the obvious reasons, right?
They're undefeated, back-to-back champions. They're number one until someone beats them.
And also the biggest thing, Kansas City's defense is elite. That is the best defense by far of the group, because they suffocate you on the ground and they force you then to try to beat them. And they are very good in the red zone. Yeah. They're very good at limiting mistakes. And then Patrick Mahomes, who that's the crazy thing, Zach, right? Like the Chiefs haven't gotten going. I think that they're going to get going a little bit, but they're winning games without Patrick Mahomes in the offense even playing a remotely clean or high-scoring game.
Yeah, and I think like we just said, we both agree. Right now, it's not pretty, but the best team in the AFC in football is the Kansas City Chiefs. When you're back-to-back defending champions, when you're undefeated, you've proven that you can win ugly, you can win pretty. They do it in every single way. They are the best team in football. I completely disagree with Colin on the second point when he says it's a coin flip between Baltimore and Buffalo, for the sole fact of it was not a coin flip when these two teams played. If these two teams hadn't played, I think, and you looked at the roster, I would lean Baltimore. Obviously, Maryland-based, so a little bit of bias there maybe, but it's hard not to think about the fact that these two teams have squared off, and it wasn't a competitive game. It was from legitimately the first plays of the game, it was over. Baltimore dominated. Buffalo had that kind of like 5-minute spurt where you were like, okay, they've got some momentum. The failed trick play leads to the strip sack, all of that. Baltimore just took all the momentum and ran with it. So with that aspect of it, I'm giving Baltimore the clear number 2. Doesn't mean I don't think that Buffalo isn't good. I think Keon Coleman is actually really growing into his own. That is a stud. We kind of all knew it coming out of college, but he is really growing into his own. You add Amari Cooper. Obviously, those guys are going to be bigger factors if they play again. But if we're talking about what have you done for me lately, what have these two teams done? We've seen both these teams play, and it was a bona fide butt whooping for the Baltimore Ravens.
So that's the thing, right? Like, I agree. The Ravens went out and whooped ass.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that even I love my ludicrous whoop ass. Like, that's how it was in that game. But the one thing I'll say is Buffalo's offense has, to me, transformed when they got Amari Cooper. I think that's going to continue to evolve. But the bigger part is if more attention's on Amari Cooper, Khalil Shakir is unbelievable in the slot. Then you have Keon Coleman, the young receiver that is gaining momentum by the week.
Mm-hmm.
And James Cook is an elite running back. He is dynamite. It hurt trading him away in fantasy, I will say this week. Woof. But solid player, right? They can beat you in so many different ways. The one thing that scares me with Baltimore, if we're having the question mark of the three teams, Zach, is still around the defense. I think Baltimore's defense is probably the team that has the most question marks. And if the game was in Baltimore, I'd feel really good about the Ravens versus Buffalo. But if you have to go to Buffalo,
changes.
I think that changes, right? That's the only thing is, yep, they whooped ass in Baltimore, but can you do the same thing going up there? Of course they can, but Buffalo now is way more prolific throwing the football than they were that week playing Baltimore. That is for damn sure. So, quite frankly, it's going to be just a fun race, but the Ravens can't even worry about Buffalo or Kansas City right now, Zach, because you're going to have to face off a frisky Denver team, which they should win the game. Good defense at Denver. Then you got to play Cincy again in Pittsburgh twice. So this is going to be a really interesting run for the Ravens here. But make no mistake, Baltimore can beat anybody. That's the thing I want to continue. Baltimore can beat any team in the league. But, Zach, we also learned that Baltimore can lose to any team in the league because the two losses on the season, besides the Chiefs one, was the two teams that are both 2-6 in the Cleveland Browns and the Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, and it's what we talked about. This team can beat and can lose to anybody. The biggest thing I think is, I took away from today is the Ravens aren't done, and they can't be done. That's the biggest thing we just kind of talked about. If this is the final move, this trade deadline's a failure. You can't just say we're going to try to outscore everyone. You got to add somebody defensively, whether it's an edge rusher, whether it's a safety. Something's got to change defensively, even if it's just a jolt of energy that you're trying to get. Just get some new blood in there to try to, light a fire under someone. Maybe you go make a trade or a deal for Calais Campbell. Something getting the veteran guys back. This is just the beginning, and I think that's what's important to remember. There's still a week left before the trade deadline. So, exactly a week. I guess technically under a week because it's 4:00 next Tuesday. But, so I guess technically under a week. We'll see what the Ravens do. But at the end of the day, the Ravens got better today, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, it should be good. Yeah, I love football season, man. It makes me want to make some moves as a fantasy football GM. So I might go make some moves here, Zach. But for every one of our channel members, appreciate you guys. You guys are already subscribed, so we don't have to tell you twice. But for anyone else that watches this video, hit that like and subscribe button.